On the front page of your book, our book, in the first page, you're gonna see 2 poems. How I Got My Nickname and At First. You guys are going to read these poems. Let's get eyes back on me really quick. Great catch, thanks. You're gonna read these poems, and first, again, just think about what these poems are about. What's happening in these poems. And after you've decided what's happening in these poems, think about how they fit together. How are they related? Why are they the 2 pieces that fit? So go ahead and take about 2 minutes to read these 2 poems. You can go ahead and jot them on your paper, your gist and relation. Sorry, by paper I mean the actual text. You should be moving on to At Last. If not, just monitor that read time. At first, sorry.
Bless you.
As you guys are jotting, just for some context, the students will have read these poems the day before, which is why the choice for you to read them today was made. Take about 10 seconds to wrap up those thoughts. Pencils down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Second grade, thank you. All right, so remember our reading thinking steps. My first job was to notice the parts of the text. What did you guys notice about the actual text that we're reading? What did you notice about them?
When Dad begins to speak, the line becomes italicized.
Okay, so that's great, and you're totally jumping ahead. What we mean by this, and I'll just go ahead and, is we're talking about kids being able to notice that they're poems. The parts of the text that we are reading are poems that all have different titles. We're really talking about the actual, there's that word again, structure of how the book is put together. The other thing I think that's really important for us to notice is that both of these texts are within a section called warm-up. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, I'm gonna look through the other sections. And I noticed that after warm-up comes the first quarter, then the second quarter, then the third quarter. And the author didn't put these 2 poems in warm-up on accident. Then I thought about what patterns I noticed. Well, first I wanted to really think about that warm-up. Why did they put it in warm-up? Well, I know warm-up is when basketball players get ready for their game. So I'm thinking about how might this get me ready for this story? I also noticed that How I Got My Nickname is about Josh's dad giving him his name, and then at first we see him not like it very much, and then see him actually realize why it's so fitting for him. Now remember, the most important thing I'm gonna do today is think about how these two fit together. How do these connect to help us make meaning? And again, we've got this idea that a warm-up is gonna get us ready for what we're gonna see in the rest of the story. I'm getting ready just like basketball players get ready before they play. Also, I notice that this story is making meaning by putting poems together as they connect to make a big picture, beginning, middle, and ends. So we see how Josh got his nickname, and then immediately after, see how he fit into it. You're gonna do a little bit of this heavy lifting now on your own. We're gonna take 10 minutes, silent and solo, but I swear, followed by talk time, lots of it. And you are going to dive in to the same thinking. You're going to reread pages 11 through 20 independently. As you're reading them, you have notes on your student handouts where you can be jotting down what each poem adds to our story. As you're doing that, don't forget that we're going to think about how they connect. Finally, when you've read all of the poems, I want you to think about how do these all fit in warm-up? Why did the author put them at the beginning in a section called warm-up? So go ahead and reread pages 11 through 20 and fill out your chart in your student materials. Go. Just an FYI, in kid time, we've got about 7 minutes left. I feel like in adult time, let's take 2 or 3 to make sure we have all of these filled out. I see some people who already have. All right, wrap up those thoughts in 10, 9, pencils down in 8, ready to talk to a partner in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Turn to a shoulder partner, and what we're most interested in is how do these fit inside the section warm-up? Why are they where they are in this text? Go for it, talk to a partner.
It's introducing us to these characters and their relationships with each other, which is like Jordan. Are we going like one by one? We can introducing you for the rest of the story.
So I said that just introduces us one by one.
I liked how there was just a common thread.
Like we also get India.
Like each thing led to the next one so seamlessly that it's gonna make so much sense.
On the way to the game, it's about how he and Judy get
to
along.
add on, Jess,
Yeah.
kind of cover it. Yeah, I know.
I mean, vlogs about his hair. We get to know his interest in deeper, his music.
Seriously, so much fun.
Like they loved it. Like they like they were, so we didn't get a chance to finish reading last
Love
year.
that dog last year.
I'm sorry.
So
5 reasons I'm
they did love that dog last
Yeah,
year.
it's also like
Which is like
next to his brother playing.
and then it's one character talking. There's more characters involved, so it's like to me it's kind of like
For
the
mom and
natural build.
dad.
They asked me for the rest of the year, can we finish reading the book? Yeah, we really want to finish reading the book.
There's also like the name.
Because it was like, it's so much to try to read within
We already have a
one
good
class
idea of who
period.
dad is.
And then like he had other things
Talks
to
about his
cover
role in
before.
the family, a little bit
like,
about his
differences.
past. He's like a really
Only ever read Love
prominent basketball player, but now he prioritizes
class, so
Yeah.
being like the man of the house.
I didn't really know what it was about. I think that they saw it was a coach had been and were like,
I'm 5 on 4 on 3 on 2 on 1. Come on, Sharonda. I'm 5 on 4 on 3 on 2 on 1. All right. Track. Anna. Track Anna. Anna, I heard a really great conversation coming from you guys. Can you summarize what Christine shared with you?
Thank you. So Christine was talking about how we basically get introduced to the characters and it's going to set us up to know how they interact with each other. So we know there's going to be a conflict later and we're going to need all of this background information.
Thank you, Anna. Anybody have anything to add? No. Yeah. Elijah.
It also sets up the family dynamics. And
For sure. Thank you. Kind of going back to that key skill today, that repeated idea that we're seeing is basketball and family. And basketball and family. And basketball and family. It keeps coming through and shows that family dynamic between the bells. All right. We're gonna move on to our TDQs where we're gonna work together. Before we do this, I want you to do a quick turn and talk. I know that Portia kind of ruined this for us, but let's pretend she didn't. On page 17, in the poem Conversation, I want you to quickly skim and scan and think about why does the author show some words in italics and some words regular. Go back and quickly skim and scan. Have an answer for your partner in about 15 seconds. Take that think sign. And talk to your partner.
So, words that the father is saying, so it's all words that are quotes or italicized.
Yeah, I noticed that Josh is the narrator, so even when he's talking, his words are still in like regular font, whereas anyone else's words are then in
Yeah, so it's easy to quickly see.
I'm gonna worm call you. What's your name again? Nayla. To share that piece about the narrator, right? All the poems are in regular because he's the speaker. On 5, on 4, on 3, on 2, on 1. On 5, on 4, on 3, on 2, on 1. Let's track Portia. Why are some words in this poem? Why are some of, woo! First time with the clicker. Why are some of these words in italics and some of them are regular?
I think just to help the reader just make that distinction of who is actually speaking at the time. So like when Dad is actually talking and when he is actually talking, and then separate those thoughts.
And just as a timeout, like my Zach Morris timeout, this is a really, this is an anticipated misconception. You guys are gonna get a chance to see my exemplars later and how I prepped for this. Luckily, I have the smartest group of 5th graders in the region right now. But in case this is definitely a question that we're going to anticipate kids don't understand. And one of the fixes that I came up with, although you can come up with however you want, is to have them actually read a line. And you're asking them, okay, who's talking here? And then intentionally pick a spot where Josh is speaking and probably responding to whoever the speaker was, who's talking here. And what do you notice about how those words look? Also be prepared to share with them what italics means. All right, time in. All right, we are going to work together for the next 10 minutes with your partners. Here's our final push to our exit ticket. So make sure you're really taking this time as purposeful, and remember that the learning in this classroom comes through conversation. So even when you're talking and taking notes, I want you to keep that criteria for success in mind. As a team, which is on your student materials as well, as a team, make sure you're speaking to a pattern or repetition in ideas, just like Elijah helped us see that connection between basketball and family. Make sure that you're talking about pieces that go together. Be the constructor and construction worker, make sure that you don't have two pieces that don't fit. And you'll be able to explain how they fit by using that textual evidence. We are going to use a procedure, another timeout, these are in your lesson plans, and there's guidance. But this is the one I chose today, time in. The procedure we're gonna use today is called heads together. You're gonna talk to your partners through our 3 deeper meaning questions. In all 3, you're going to use parts of the CFS. There are some places where you may be able to omit one, but make sure you're using that CFS to guide your conversation. For the sake of today, as it's one of the first times we've done heads together, I'm gonna give you guys some time boundaries to make sure that we get to all of our questions. If you flip over your student materials, you'll see these questions. And you're gonna take 5 minutes to answer question number 1. Kristen, can you read question number 1 to us loud and proud? It's on your paper. You already answered it when you weren't supposed to. That's why I called on you. How does the final poem in section basketball, how does the final poem in the section warm-up, basketball rule, relate to the poems that came before it? Take 5 minutes. There's actually guidance for you through that CFS in this first conversation. Take 5 minutes to make sure you're hitting all parts of the CFS. Go for it. Talk time, totally.
No, I'm really bad at things.
Yeah, but I was looking at the one.
I'm gonna pause really quick. I just got some really quick in the moment feedback from actually you guys. I would say here's a really strong point to have them first reread the basketball poem, number 1. So giving them 30 seconds to first find basketball rules on page 20, 30 seconds to silently reread it to yourself, and then think about how the poems that came before it, how they relate. So go ahead and take 30 seconds to find page 20 and reread basketball rule number 1.
Okay. Heart keeps getting repeated. Heart and court.
In this poem or specifically?
Basketball
Throughout
number
the-
1. That's what the basketball is the point.
All right, go ahead. Once you've read that poem, share with your partner or your table. Sorry.
Family's the idea that keeps getting repeated.
In basketball.
I think just the importance, like how their relationships are really strong and how everything is centered around basketball.
Like these are the 2 most influential parts of his life.
Would you expect complete sentences for these jots?
No, not
For these
just
jobs,
bullet
no.
points. No.
I guess
In the
in
complete
question itself, I
response,
should have
yeah.
realized that when I said jots, but yes.
Yeah. They can write in very
But
complete
then
sentences,
I'm
though, so don't-
thinking, so I'm getting the basketball and family part, but I'm also thinking maybe like with the heart and court part, like you mentioned, like it's more so like applying it to life and like whatever you do, like put your all into it.
So
It's kind of what I'm.
to build off of that, I'm looking at the third part from the criteria for success. I think that's the piece, right? Like the heart and the court is how it fits into the other ones because it's about JB's life. Nope, Josh's life.
Josh's life, yep.
And so this is how this poem fits into Josh's life because of the previous poems that are talking about his life.
So specifically, how do they connect basketball? Right? Like now if we're jumping to eventually we've got to use evidence from the text, which there's plenty of. How does basketball kind of provide this connection to family for this family through this text?
Because it's like, how do they fit together?
Rearranging in terms of teams, which is why Mark pulled me up.